Akira Nakai. If you're into the world of cars, you've probably seen this Japanese guy on social media. A chaotic, chain-smoking man sitting on a leather chair, casually tearing apart and rebuilding Porsche machines into entirely new beasts. And let's be honest, Porsche is arguably the least modifiable car out there. Porsche is the brand most attached to its heritage, its DNA, dating back to the days of fierce German engineering. But today, this man is here to change everything we know about art, or at least everything I know about art. Akira Nakai, as he is without pretense, is one of the most controversial, yet beloved and sought-after figures in the automotive world today. In the realm of Porsche, we're left wondering, is he a drunk vandal committing crimes against these cars, or is he a top-tier contemporary artist? Today we're going to try to figure that out, but regardless of the answer, one thing is certain. This scruffy, unkempt man, who might not win you over with his appearance, is the creator of RWB, a name that has become legendary, a unique line of modifications that has become a school of its own. Welcome to your channel, Car Surgeon. Let's go! Hello and welcome everyone, I'm your host, The Surgeon, greeting each and every one of you, my car-loving friends, on our manly channel. Today let's talk about Mr. Nakai and RWB. So our friend Mr. Nakai, or Nakai-san, as they say in Japanese, has been in the game for a long time. Since the 1990s, he's been crafting, building, and perfecting his craft. And if you look back at those days, you can feel the aura around him. Trust me, he's the OG, the one who's been there since the very beginning. He's the ultimate cool guy, the real 90s bad boy of the car world, the kind of guy you'd keep your girl far away from. While his work today revolves around Porsches, it wasn't always like that. Nakai's beginnings were with a group of Japanese car enthusiasts in Japan, working on Japanese cars, specifically the iconic and super cool Toyota Corolla AE86s hatchback, the rear-wheel drive troublemaker. In the early 90s, this group was one of the most legendary car crews in Japan. Nakai was the leader of this pack, a group of garage kids modifying their cars, burning up the tracks and roads around Mount Tsukuba, home to the famous Tsukuba circuit in Japan. This crew called themselves the RW. Rough world. These were guys who lived life on their own terms, who didn't like anything soft, except maybe women, of course. Their machines, classic JDM cars, carried the initials RW, short for rough world, and everyone respected and loved them, except the police maybe. Nakai was happy, but there was something from his childhood that stayed with him, his love for Porsche. It's no secret that Porsche is the dream car for anyone who loves driving, but it's always been a distant dream because let's face it, Porsches are expensive. There's no such thing as a cheap Porsche, but Nakai by chance came across a beaten up 911 in the 90s. This machine, on its last legs, became the reason he's now a legend in the world of car modifications. This was the Stella Artois. Yes, named after the famous beer because Nakai loves it. In short, Nakai loved green bottles and black Porsches. The Stella Artois was originally a 1985 Porsche 911, and instead of fixing it up for its owner, Nakai fell in love with it and bought it almost completely wrecked. He had worked on other Porsches before, but this was the first time the beloved German machine was his. He could finally go wild and realize his crazy dreams. Nakai, true to his rough world roots, wanted a track monster. Not a pampered, elegant Porsche sitting in a clean, modern garage. He took everything he knew about car modifications, the Japanese way of course, and applied it to the most refined supercar in the world. And that's when the impossible happened. This is what happens when a Porsche falls into Nakai's hands. Wide-body kits, aggressive styling, and a look like it's been on steroids for decades. I remember the first time I've seen Porsches with the RWB badge, and I thought it might stand for really wide body. Everything about these cars is wide. The wheels, the brakes, and the idea. Weight reduction, engine modifications. This Stella Artois, for example, ended up with 360 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. Nakai stripped it down so much that he even replaced the transmission with one from another Porsche just to save weight. In the end, it weighed less than a ton, 950 kilograms, a true racing machine, deadly and fierce. Nakai poured all his love, expertise, and attention into this craft, but what really set him apart was how he did it. If you watch him work, you'll see his unique style. He's a guy who loves to get comfortable in his workspace, and by get comfortable, I mean with a pack of cigarettes, a can of soda or beer, barefoot, sitting on a leather throne like it's his kingdom. Give him these simple things, put a Porsche in front of him, and let him work his magic. My friend, if you're a purist, especially a Porsche purist, this might hurt to watch. How can Nakai just chop up these beloved cars so brutally, then slap on his own parts by eye, using silicone and screws without measurements in just minutes? It's something that could genuinely disgust you. But if you can see the beauty in what Nakai does, you might start to see things differently. RWB machines are a fingerprint in the automotive world, crafted solely by this one madman. It's like a samurai sword. Those who understand katanas know that there are masters who crafted swords 500 years ago, and those swords are now worth millions. In my opinion, Nakai and his machines are a perfect example of perfectly imperfect. The man smells like smoke, his hands and nails aren't the cleanest, but they're the hands of a true craftsman. He embodies the image of a modern artist. Modern art in general is something I've tried to understand, and I don't always succeed. It's often strange, illogical, and sometimes feels like those who get it are just pretending for prestige. But watching Nakai, I think I finally understood modern art. He's the perfectly imperfect artist, something made from the heart, regardless of whether it pleases everyone. It's a paradox, because I'm usually the one criticizing over-the-top modifications that lack meaning. But with Nakai, despite the rawness and outdated methods, I've come to respect and love his work. And so, after all this, if you want Mr. Nakai to modify your Porsche, whether you're a wealthy Arab sheikh, an Australian who saved up your entire life to own an RWB Porsche, or anyone else, just make sure you provide him with the things he loves. He doesn't need a contract, but he does need a big leather chair. I've never seen him work without one. Prepare your dollars. Honestly, I don't know how much he charges, but the important thing is, after a year or two, it'll be your turn. I've heard the waiting list is up to 3 years if you book today. This guy lives for his work. I don't think he's married. His life revolves around modifying Porsches. He says he works on about 1 car a week, but there aren't that many weeks in a year, folks. Nakai operates out of his garage in Japan, but he also loves to travel. If you want to fly him out to you, he'll come with his team and modify your car right in front of you. And when he's done, he'll name your car. Yes, almost every RWB Porsche in the world is named by its father, Nakai. The names are strange, from different languages, but rest assured, the name will suit your car. My friends, back when he was modifying the Toyota Corolla, AE86 RW stood for Rauh-Welt, but when he started working on Porsches and took his craft to a whole new level, he turned it into RWB, adding the letter B, which stands for Begriff in German, meaning concept or understanding. As for the words Rauh-Welt, they're the same as rough world, but again in German. Now if you ask them, how does this modification affect Porsche cars and the driving experience? Well, as we all know, the best thing about a Porsche is how it drives, the feeling it gives you behind the wheel. So after these modifications, especially with the widened body, you might wonder how things change. Honestly, I had the same question, so I went and gathered information from drivers and owners of RWB Porsches themselves, and I'll share what I saw and heard. I actually expected the opposite. I thought the driving experience would be negatively affected. But no, first they said it's a unique experience, unlike driving any regular Porsche or ordinary car. Second, and more importantly, they unanimously agreed that the car moves and interacts with you in a better, more aggressive way, especially on the track, compared to any standard Porsche. At the end of the day, widening the axles, widening the wheels, widening the tires, and widening the car as a whole is the first thing car manufacturers do when preparing for track competitions and races. My friend, this car drives like a beast. It might be a little less comfortable than the original, but as a sports car, as a track car, it's still better than the original. RWB has become a brand, a school of its own in the world of car modifications, all thanks to this one man. I hope he passes this craft down to his son, keeping it alive as a unique Japanese tradition. RWB machines have even appeared in Need for Speed and other racing games, and they're featured in magazines worldwide. I wanted to introduce you to this guy today because personally, I've come to love him. I'll see you next time, and I hope I've done justice to this topic. Thank you to all my dear followers, and until next time, this is the Surgeon signing off. Peace.
Hey, konnichiwa. Hi, how are you? Yeah. Nakai-san, it's been